get us vodka hit before he starts this. All right, for those of you who haven't been here, we're talking about our ideas. So I'll let you two gentlemen in the back talk about your ideas and what you're gonna focus on as an objective for your project. And maybe even some structuring that you thought about that project.
Well,
What's your idea?
my business serves like business to business and then also business to consumer. It's like almost like middleman for self-employed people. Cause like
For what kind of people?
self-employed.
Self-employed,
So if
okay.
you think about it, how do they get most of their business? It's all word of mouth. They don't really do well in advertisement and getting jobs and doing they're not as polished and professional as big corporations. And I think that I can help small businesses become more.
So kind of like client acquisition, help them acquire new clients,
Yeah.
do business.
Yeah.
Is there a specific industry or market that you wanna focus on? It's just kind of general. You haven't thought that far?
Yeah.
Okay. So, being a broker, right, a middle person, what's the biggest challenge that you assume would be there? How, since they have a hard time gaining clients, right, as entrepreneurs or what have you, how do you make it easy for yourself to get those clients for them? How do you serve to be like a good agent in the middle, a good broker between the parties to say, you can't do it, but I can? Like how do you stand out differentially?
The only way I would think would be by showing examples, but you would only get that by showing results, and I haven't done that part yet.
Okay.
So,
But, I mean, so if you think about it, is it like, hey, we market ourselves better than what other businesses will be able to market? That's how we able to gain the clients for these other businesses? Like, just looking at that industry, like, what made you think of this industry to begin with? Like, you saw a need, obviously, what did you observe?
So like you know how like everybody has friends that want to rap and do music and stuff.
Mhm.
They don't know like how to get in touch with a producer or an engineer they don't even know where to find
They
it.
don't have the network.
Yeah.
They don't have the network, okay.
It's basic service that need.
And so you say, hey, to create this network, is the network a platform? Is it, is it a website? Is it an app?
It's an app.
Is it, okay. So it's an app
Yeah.
to bridge people to come together in order to source out clients for
Yes.
their wonderful businesses that they have. How do you think you would charge, right? You would charge by business, industry, size,
I was thinking more like a subscription type.
so subscription-based, fixed rates.
Yeah, and then you charge them for like posting their ads on like other sites.
Okay. Alright, so charge fixed rates for subscriptions, maybe some variability though, so you create different tiers to pay based on the size of the organization. How many employees do you have?
Yeah.
And what's your revenue, yada, yada, yada. And that's your way of bringing people all together to this wonderful platform. Okay. Initial costs, what do you think that is? Is it high, is it low, is that a barrier to entry? Like, why aren't more people starting this type of business, from your observation? Yeah, I think an app of that scale, right?
Yeah.
Because you basically say, I'm creating a network, I'm creating a LinkedIn or Instagram.
If
but
I had the money to make the app, I would have been dropped out, but I don't.
Dropped out of where?
College.
Out of college?
Yeah.
All right, so think about, all right, so we'll, as a side note, that's saying, hey, I'm here for college for money. Are you here for college for money? Because we're learning business and process systems, how to be efficient,
Yeah.
what's the step-by-step in each one of these things? How do we improve them? But this also applies to the owners of the business who had the original idea, right? So it's kind of like, hey, how do they think efficiently? So as a side note, you came to college in the assumption that college equals potential opportunity for increased income, for money, for revenue. Was that the assumption of coming here?
Yeah.
There were no other sort of thinking like, hey, I want to kind of learn to see what I'm actually interested in besides money, right? Because money's just.
Well, I love business, so
Yeah.
you know, and you don't necessarily need college to be successful in business.
So what's the value in college? You know, the rest of the people here, like, they
Yeah.
express like, hey, what is the value? What's the added value of paying the fees to come here? Like, what is the actual value?
Well, so how I looked at it, I was like, well, if I want to make six figures, I have to get a degree. So.
That was the equation. That's what it equals. 6 figures equals a degree,
Yes.
or 6 figures equals my creation in spite of the degree. So, I mean, think about this, right? We think for a second like, hey, we stop being honest with ourselves first of all, right? If you're an honest company, you will probably make a ton of money instead of being a dishonest company, right? First, being honest with self. Before we get into all just wonderful lean systems, processes, approaches, theories, you have to clearly ask yourself, like, hey, why am I actually here? Is it to buy time? Like, I don't know, this gives me something to do. If I wasn't here, I'd probably be at home playing video games or working a penny job, not making any money, crappy car or something, right? So it starts with your approach. What is your vision? What is your mission statement as a person coming here? Coming to college, like, hey, what is your mission here? And to be honest, this is not like something weird, because when I was an undergraduate, nobody had a clue what they wanted to do. People were just making up stuff, right? People are basically buying time. It's like, this is kind of cool, I can hang out, I can meet people, I got a schedule, I get work to do, keeps me active. To be honest, people had not done some serious thinking about it. Why am I here and what is my objective? What do I think is the final results of me being here? Did I project them? Did I actually work out a plan, a strategy, a schedule, something like that? And the answer was no. People just came to do the work that the professors told them to do the classes, go to class, try to show up, and get out of here. But it all starts from that, because successful people have said, hey, I did a year, but at the time I started a project, I'm Mark Zuckerberg. I started Facebook in my dorm while everybody was still going to class. And those people already knew what they wanted to do, you know? But this is important, like, think about this. Even when you leave class, I think like, man, what is my actual objective here? It has to make sense. Which is the argument that people have. Does college make sense? Right? People just going because learned behavior, we've been conditioned to think college degree equals income, money, potential. Maybe it does, maybe don't. The point is, it's case by case basis, right?
Yeah.
What's good for you is not good for everybody else. What's good for them is not good for you. The point is, you have a plan. You have a plan based on who you are, what you're good at, what you're not good at. Know that, being very honest with yourself. Does this work? Does this not work? Let me go back and revise and reevaluate the plan, right? Like, this didn't work. You revise and evaluate. Eventually, you have a lean system. Like, I'm highly efficient in everything I do. I know the objectives, and I know primarily what the results are going to be. But if we don't know what the results are going to be, then we don't have an objective. Like, we have no idea what the results are going to be. Poor planning leads to poor results, right? So that's what I would say is primarily the theory of this class. Right? You're like, okay, this stuff sounds kind of boring. I get it, right? But you're trying to understand step-by-step processes of how an actual business works. It's not easy. Constant revision, right? Just because you got the golden formula today of what's gonna work or in your mind will not work tomorrow, next week, next month, next quarter, next year. Constant revision. How to get reliable people, how to utilize those people effectively, efficiently, right? You got a machine, how to utilize that machine. What if it breaks down? Did you plan for that? There's a ton of stuff. So it's extremely difficult to operate a profitable business. It's extremely difficult. People make revenues all the time. So what? You don't have any profit, you got nothing left over. You gotta pay all the bills. Paid all the bills, you got any money left there? You're like, no, I don't. But I paid all the bills. Right? You don't have any growth. You pay all the bills, you have absolutely no growth. You may have a decline if you can't afford them. Right? Which applies to us as individuals, which apply to our future companies, either we want to work for or we want to be entrepreneurial about. So we got to do serious thinking. That's what separates business-minded people from non, and it's not for everybody. People realize that, like, hey, I'm going to another field. Business is hard. You know, people back then, and they're like, I'm gonna do nursing instead. I'm gonna go do this or that instead. It's extremely difficult. You know? But we all have great ideas, and we should have great ideas. Not knocking anybody's idea. If it's your idea, awesome. You know, do the idea, but do have some serious planning and thinking about the idea. Because you go to the bank and ask for a loan and say, where's your business plan? Like, I don't have one. And like, we don't get it. We don't understand. Can you at least show us something what you think you'll make in 2 years, 3 years? Something, right? You can make the numbers up. Pro forma statements they call them, right? Make the numbers up. But they're a little bit realistic based on the market or the industry that you look at. So yeah, so think incrementally, like think process. What do I expect bad to happen? What can go wrong as a business person, as I operate this company? Or as a manager, managing a team of people, what could possibly go wrong? A ton of stuff's go wrong. How do I improve? How do we grow? How do we not stay stagnant? How do we not fail? You, sir, what is your idea?
So, a lot of people I know, they're like in the fashion industry, and the main problem I've heard a lot of them like run into is finding like vendors and things that can like actually like make the clothes.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have a friend in Milwaukee, like he's like, I think he's getting his stuff like sourced from like the middle, like over like the Middle East, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And so my idea is to open like pretty much like a series of like, I wouldn't call them warehouses, but it's like, it's kind of like a warehouse. It's like you'd be able to come in, you'd be able to at least be able to make a sample, and then like you'd be able to get like your order of whatever like clothing you, like whatever you're trying to make for that specific like clothing line drop. And you'd be able to do it here, and it'd be probably a lot quicker than, you know, outsourcing it somewhere. You gotta wait for shipping and things like that.
All right, so you want the designers of clothes to come to you with their designs, and they say, well, you can either make the designs or you're sourcing these designs from somewhere else. Like, where are you getting the actual clothing from, the final product to give to them? Like, where you think you're gonna, are you getting it local, are you producing it yourself, or are you outsourcing, like you're getting it from overseas too?
A lot of the stuff we probably just like have on hand, like maybe like a lot of like t-shirts, hoodies and things like that. And then just like a specialty item, like, and obviously like I'd be able to like locate that for them and then still be able to execute the like design and idea for them.
All right, so I mean, it sounds interesting. So you say you may have a couple different operations. One would be standard, right? You get standard t-shirts, standard hoodies, things like that. And then maybe another one is customized. Like now they want to put their branding, their logo on it. And then the other one is real customized, where you're like, well, we got to order that, right?
Right.
But yeah, think about the number one thing would be cost, because like, where do you get your supply from? Do you get your supply of t-shirts in the United States? Expensive? If it's expensive for them too. Who's gonna buy it from you? They say, why would I get it from you? It's too expensive, I can't afford it. I might as well just skip you and go directly to Bangladesh, or a real large one for fashion industry people don't realize is Ukraine. Ukraine makes a ton of high-end clothing for big names, right? Which is why that's been sort of a topic too with the Ukraine conflict. But you have to think about where are you sourcing your textiles from, right? Your garments from. And if you're gonna transfer that cost, we say the cost will be transferred over to whoever's buying it from, right? If yours is expensive, it's gonna be expensive for them, and now they won't come to you because it's too expensive. Right? So maybe, what would you say is your biggest challenge that you think with that?
It probably, like you said, probably being able to finding the garments at a cheaper price, so I'm not like, so when they ask me how much they're charging per piece, I'm not like, seem like I'm trying to like rob them pretty much.
Yeah, so I said your main thing is cost, right? People are gonna want something that's affordable, because you're gonna have a lot of competitors. There's a lot of people starting clothing lines, right? You go online on Instagram or whoever, people are starting their own brands, and think it's probably very expensive. They're trying to make it quality. They're like, well, what we do here is quality. Do you have a strategy? Like, what I do is quality garments. Well, quality probably equals cost, right? Or you say, no, I'm just here, we do it cheap. We have a cost strategy. Keep it low, but we get it to you quick. Keep the cost low, but you get it quick, right? And you say, well, that's the market we're in. So it's kind of identifying and knowing what market you're in. Like, I'm in some sort of cost leadership. I do it quick, but I do it very cheap, and I want those people. I'm not trying to do quality. Quality is something somebody else does. So I would say maybe refine that and think of like exactly, filter that down and say, well, mine is quick and cheap, or I can take time. We got the best high quality stuff for luxury branded people, right? Or you're like, no, we're just standard, we're just for regular people and do standardized t-shirts with graphics on them, hoodies with graphics on them, stuff like that. All right, is there anybody else who haven't talked about their objective? All right, lean systems. Lean. What do we think of when we hear the word lean systems? The words lean systems. What are you thinking?
Like removing excess. When you think of a lean person, you think of like less fat, so maybe it's like less excess, like straight to the point systems.
Yeah, right, you say waste, right? Companies have waste. There's no company that don't have some sort of waste, which means you can always identify waste. Never ends. Which means there's always room for improvement. No matter what great idea you got, even if it's Coca-Cola coming off the assembly line, like, they have somebody think like, man, how do we make this even more efficient? How do we get more bottles quicker? Can this machine be more effective, more efficient, right? Does it take too long? Is it too long to get from A to B? Do the people, it takes too long for them to get to the machines to turn it on? Like, there's people thinking about all these details. To say we've improved the performance in order to increase the product, increase sales. What are some companies that you've observed, you're like, man, I spot some waste. Like, they're very wasteful. Either in some use, in some way that they use people or their facility that they're in, or product is very wasteful, or service is very wasteful. What are some observations you've had for companies that have waste, that you see things could be improved, be better? Man, just think of regular stuff, like you're out and about and you're like, man, like this place is slow, this product sucks, like, what?
I was gonna say maybe like Walmart, because they have a lot of product. They carry like a wide variety of products, but the people that actually purchase the more minute things at Walmart, they carry too much product for the amount of people that are purchasing it, like too much stock. So then they don't make efficient use of their space. Like, I know the Walmart on Des Plaines Road, they had to use containers in their parking lot to like store extra stock because they just don't have enough space in the store because they carry too much product.
Okay, excellent. I mean, some Walmarts hold way too much inventory, or say than Home Depot, right? And like they got stuff way out in the parking lot, you gotta go here, you gotta go there. Like, how come this didn't fit in the store, right? Cause you got a lot of stuff that don't sell or move. So how would they improve that? So they got like an inventory problem. How would they improve that process?
I think they could do better in their measurement of like, or their assumptions of expected sales, and scale down certain like departments to like meet the sales that they expect to have, but not like over exceed like the amount of stock for the sales that they have.
Yeah, so yeah, maybe like an ordering issue, right? People ordering way too more things. So you'd be like, well, we come up with a new policy. Maybe it's just in time, right? First in, first out, like last out, first in thing, right? Or you could say, hey, you know what? We actually get stuff that sells quick and stuff that don't sell quick. How do we look at this and mix things up better? Get rid of stuff that don't sell, so we have more space for things that move. And now maybe we focus on things that move, right? Don't carry so many items. Focus more on things that sell instead of all this frivolous stuff that doesn't move. What else? What other companies? Dunkin' Donuts? How? That's my company. I love donuts.
They throw away all the donuts that they don't sell.
Highly, right? You show up, it's 3 p.m. and the donut tastes like a brick, right? And they're like, oh, it'll take 3 of them. We're like, yeah, I'll take 3 of them. Tastes like a brick, right? Don't matter. They're both they're trash. So you say, hey, Dunkin' Donuts, you're not satisfying customers. You're not fooling anybody, right? Everybody show up for the remaining of these 400 hard donuts you got there, and they're like, dude, don't order donuts past 3 p.m. Right? You order to get around, and now you got a lot of waste stuff you got to throw out, which could have been money, right? Could have been actual money and be more money in the future. How could Dunkin' Donuts improve that process? Make it more efficient, make it more lean. What could they do?
I actually saw a video on Snapchat yesterday about this donut shop in LA, and they actually have a revolving menu of donuts, but not just that, they also make their donuts hourly. So I think instead of stocking up at the beginning of the day, try to spread that out throughout the day so the donuts are more fresh and they can make as many based on the traffic at the time.
Okay, yeah, it's one process. That would help improve. What are some other ways? I think Dunkin' Donuts is a great example because it's just it's like a simple problem everybody knows. It's like hard donuts, stale donuts. Yeah.
Well, the donuts may be like stale, but they're not like raw. They're not like inedible.
Yes.
And Dunkin' like has their motto of like America runs on Dunkin'. So they could maybe create like a new ad campaign like Dunkin' supports America, and they could donate all the excess donuts at the end of the day to maybe like homeless shelters or food banks, and then they could use that as like a pull to like show consumers that would normally not go to Dunkin', they're like, hey, this is a company that's not just for profit, it's for like the people, so they could kind of create more value and more interest.
Yeah, that could work. You better adapt a new strategy. All the stale donuts at the end of the day, they'll go to homeless shelters, right? How could that backfire?
So I work in food service, and the reason why a lot of big corporations like that don't donate food that they have at the end of the day is if the places that they donated to, they get sick off that food, the company that donated them ends up being liable, and that can backfire majorly.
So yeah, that could backfire. What's another way it could backfire? Remember, say lean. Lean means more profit. Like, hey, we just maximizing profit as much as possible. Like, you're the manager, and you're like, hey, here's a new idea, here's a new protocol. Now we're donuts being donated. Like, what are some things that you think of like that could go wrong in that process?
If word of mouth gets to people as to where these donuts are being donated to, they might just wait until like after 3 p.m. to get free donuts instead of going to the shop and paying them.
Yeah, right. You say consumers should change their behavior now because Dunkin' Donuts said they'll do something different than what they've been doing, right? Well, let's say people say they don't buy the donuts, why? we'll do a good thing. We have like consumer activists, right? Don't buy donuts. That way we can feed the homeless. And I was like, hey, you lost a lot of money off this idea, right? So he was like, hey, we got this manager, we gotta fire you now. Because you came up with the idea, and guess what? The idea didn't work. Right? Or it could have worked. But the point is, like, we have to be thinking about all these things that can go wrong. It's possible too, to remember. All right, so Dunkin' Donuts, Walmart, what else? Well, some other companies you observed that had some sort of waste.
GameStop, they threw like a bunch of stuff away like every day. It's crazy.
The games?
Yeah.
They throw away? Do they throw them away, or do they like resell them somewhere else?
Like, they resell some, but they throw away a lot. Like, people go like dumpster dive and get like old consoles and like resell them.
And so they purchase, all right, so you could go to GameStop and be like, hey, I want to sell my PS4, want to get some games. They'll buy it, right? Buy it at cost, so they're spending money.
Yes.
Right? This company's spending money, and they say after a certain time when it's not sold, money's thrown away. Basically, right? So how could they improve that process so they're not wasting money?
Maybe they can outsource it to a different, maybe outsource.
Yeah, you make that could be a simple one. You just resell it somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
You resell it at a discount on eBay or some other platform where, you know, gamers are, or you start giving some incentives, like, hey, you get a free game. Which free game be the ones we don't want, that don't sell, right? You
That's
get a
usually
free
what they do.
game if you come and purchase X amount of money, right? So you give promotions based off the stuff that don't sell, which many companies do, right? They give you free stuff on the stuff that don't really make the money anyway, right? So they try to place value-added properties on this to get you to do something to entice you. But they don't do it, yet they run a business. So they run a business that's wasteful. You're like, I could do that. What's that even? You're like, nobody cares. You're just wasting money, right? And now the stock goes down, went so low, and then it got jacked up, and it went up high and made a few people rich. He's like, why is the stock so low? Well, there's one of your answers. It's a highly inefficient company, right? You can see that from anywhere. You go into any restaurant, you're like, man, this place just don't do business. There's not enough tables, there's not enough chairs, there's not enough people to cook the food. There's too many things on the menu. You ever go into some of the Chinese restaurants and look at the menu and it's like numbered? Now it's like 400. You're like, who's really gonna think about that? So you say highly inefficient, because you should be focusing on things that do well and eliminate things that do not do well. Very simple to understand, that's common sense. But a lot of people don't put that into practice, right? All right, so lean systems. All right, operation systems that maximize the value added by each of a company's activities by removing waste and delays for them. One of the big ones they focus on primarily for the chapter is dealing with supply chains and logistics, which means that there's always a lot of obstacles in getting things to distributors, to suppliers, to retailers, because they have to come on trucks, vans, Amazon, FedEx, UPS, all these different things. What are some things you can think of that can delay those things being delivered on time, that can uphold that process? You're like, hey, we placed an order. We actually paid you for the stuff. We're still waiting for it. What are some things could be the reason? Yes? Weather. So say, hey, you can't predict the weather. You could, right? You're like, hey, we have good modeling of the weather, right? So we know what should be ordered around what time and what the expectation of what time should be here based on England and weather, whatever. So weather could be a factor that should be looked at. What else?
Probably, yeah.
I'll get you first.
Sorry. But probably just failures within the company, like actually a bunch of days ago, I heard that there was a huge, warehouse fire over in Chicago Heights.
Yeah, okay, so you say damage, damage to the goods or damage to the trucks, something of the sort, right? In which case you're like, well, there's no backup plan in case that happens, right? What else?
Employment issues, like for trucking companies, some trucking companies or drivers in particular go on strikes, and then companies are left without like trucks moving back and forth between drop-off points and pickup points.
Yeah, you say it's highly disruptive, right? Unionization. You say, hey, we're in a union, and now we're negotiating a new contract, and now we're gonna go on strike until they meet our demands of what we want, right? You're like, okay, it really held up the process, and now what's gonna happen to those companies who need those goods? They'll be impacted, or they may lose their business, right? They may lose a ton of money, they may lose the business itself. Or the customers will say, hey, you don't have the stuff, guess what, I'm going to your competitors now. You don't have it, so now I'm gonna go do something else, I'll go to my competitors. So unionization is one of them. Anything else anybody could think of? All right, so these are philosophies. These are ideas about how things should work, right? So Lean Systems is a philosophy, and I said before, you can have Six Sigma certification, which is big. Like a lot of people skip school and do the Six Sigma. Because there's a lot of companies that say, hey, if you've been trained to think like this, and to look at these systems and processes, we're giving you $150K off the bat. Why? Because your job is so valuable to keeping us efficient in everything we do. Thus, we will compensate you appropriately, because your job is important to how we operate the actual business. So some people do the whole Six Sigma certification, they got like white belt, black belt, it kind of relates to like martial arts. So it's big money and it's a big thing to learn. So we got just-in-time philosophy, the belief that waste can be eliminated by cutting unnecessary capacity or inventory, like we talked about with Walmart, and removing non-value added activities in operations. What's some non-value activities you could think of in any operation of a business? Think about when you worked at Amazon. What were some non-value added activities? What's some stuff you think was extremely wasteful in that whole process you observed?
The downtime we have, we had a lot of downtime in between, where sometimes people would just be standing around and not really do much of anything.
So they were just waiting,
Yeah.
waiting for the next
The shipment of.
the next shipment.
Yeah.
What could be done in the downtime? What do you think could have been done in the downtime?
Could have helped wrap other pallets, because oftentimes there would be, so like there, in one lane, it would be completely empty, nothing going on, and then the other, they're just over flooded with packages, so those guys waiting around could have helped make the pallets in the busy lanes.
So think about that. We're talking about Amazon. Amazon, one of the largest corporations in the world. And like what distribution centers are key and critical, right? And if you're looking, observing at the whole process there, you're like, well, people are actually waiting around and not doing anything. Highly inefficient, right? If you're an operations manager, it's like, hey, we could cross-train people to do several things when they have idle time, right? Several other things. And we can mix the people around so that no one's ever standing around. What else? What have you observed in some companies, some non-value added activities?
Maybe one example of this might be like, we talk about, you do like a bunch of sauce packets, and not everyone's gonna use all those packets.
All right, I agree with that. All right, I think that. Well, I'm gonna talk about it anymore. Every time we go, it just never works out that great. But yeah, they give you a ton of napkins and they give you a ton of fire sauce, hot sauce, right? They give you all the stuff and like, well, this is extremely wasteful. Maybe they could be reselling the extra packs, right? Maybe they could say, well, 1 pack per taco that we give the person. Like, we could focus on this small little detail item because it transfers into potentially a lot of money if this is happening in all different types of Taco Bells, right? So yeah, that's an excellent example. You know, something that small you would think is insignificant can transfer to a lot of money. It's basically like stealing a penny at a bank for each transaction. You come out with a lot of money, even though it's primarily unnoticeable, right? Where you look at it. Anybody else got any just observations, the place you go to, and you just like, you know, this, why they have to go way over here to do this, why they need to do this, like piloting for chefs.
McDonald's started charging like 35 cents for extra sauce. I just figured that out. And I don't really appreciate it. They got-
For the nuggets,
Yeah.
for the chicken nuggets.
Yeah. But they didn't like, that's like recent though. Like, they didn't usually do that. Yeah.
So what can McDonald's do? What, you know, let's say you're operations manager at McDonald's, they leave you in charge, and they're like, well, people been complaining about the 35-cent charge for it.
See, if I'm working there, they just don't have to deal with it. That's how I do it. As a customer, I'm not happy.
Is there anything that could be done, can McDonald's do, to make it free again? Yeah.
I was gonna say, if they're gonna like charge for sauces, at least make the sauces like bigger. So it seems like you're actually like getting something out of it.
Yeah. You say now you added some value, just added value in another place, substituting it, placing it somewhere else, right? And we say everything can always have some sort of value added to that process or to the product itself. So yeah, non-value added activities and operations. So here's the 8 types of waste, or what they call MUDA, right? So overproduction, producing way too much stuff, manufacturing an item before it's needed, making it difficult to detect defects and creating excessive lead times in inventory. So people order too much. Think about it, you're a company, and whatever it is you order, you place an order for it, you pay the vendors, right? You pay them for it, you pay a certain cost for it. They send you the stuff, and you get all this stuff. Some of it sold, a lot of it didn't sell. Like now it doesn't sell, so what do? We gotta put it on sale, 30–40% off. Still hasn't sold. What do we do for the remainder? We gotta put it on clearance for a few dollars. Right? But we paid X amount of dollars for it. We lost money. Right? So that goes to show ordering too much stuff leads to loss of money. Right? Overproduction. Inappropriate processing, using expensive, high precision equipment when simpler machines would suffice. You're like, man, your technology is off the charts. That's completely unnecessary for what you're trying to do, right? You have the greatest technology, the greatest machines, the most high-end, new, innovative stuff. But you're like, dude, you're just only building this simple product. You don't need that. Why do you have this? It's way too much. Right, it leads to overutilization of expensive capital assets. You're like, this is very expensive to purchase this technology or machine, let alone to just run it. Right, and investment in smaller, flexible equipment, immaculately maintained older machines, like use the old ones. If it's not broke, don't fix it. You can apply this to, say, people who buy luxury vehicles and finance the car, right? Now they got a $700 note. Anybody for what? Right, well, it's a fancy schmancy car, right? You got this, you got Sirius XM radio, and all this stuff. Anybody, what happened to your other car? Right, it works fine. It works fine. You weren't paying the note on it. So now what happens? Means you got more debt, right? Yeah, you're happy and satisfied, and that's great, and you should be. But make no mistake about it, you're running your life inefficiently. can't truly afford it. So think about that, this applies even to those situations in their regular lives. Which means you have way too much, high-end equipment when the older stuff will work, right? Or combining process steps where appropriate, reduce the waste associated with inappropriate processing. Apply it to personal life too, like, hey, you could have caught the North Avenue bus to the Harlem bus to get here, instead of waiting in traffic, paying the gas at the current gas prices, and now you gotta get the car. At the end of the day, at the end of the month, you look at your expenses, you're like, dang, it costs a lot of money just to get to school, back and forth to school. But is there a more efficient way to do it? Sure, it is. Correct? Use the bus, use the train, etc. Here we talk about waiting at Amazon, right? Unbalanced workstations make operators lose time, because if a process takes longer than the next, then operators will either stand idly, which we talked about, waiting, or they will be performing their tasks at a speed that makes it appear that they have work to complete. Operators can also be waiting when a previous process steps break down, has quality issues, lacks certain parts or information, or has long changeovers. So think about just even in that process, if you say, well, I don't want them to do anything else, I just want them to focus on this, you could say, well, have them work on the lines a little bit slower. That way there are no waiting times, right? But you don't have to work as fast on the line if we're gonna end up waiting and just standing here. Make the time slower in which we process the package, so there's never a time where we're just standing around. Right, you can change that. And transportation, excessive movement and material handling a product between processes, which can cause damage or deterioration of product quality without adding significant customer value. Think about that, that's traffic management. So if you get stuff delivered by truck, by van, by car, and you're like, well, you know, if you took this route, you would have got there 20 minutes quicker. Like, no, I'm taking this route. We would have took this route, you would have got here 3 days earlier, right? See, like, the routes, your movement actually is inefficient. The way that you actually move these goods are highly inefficient. Why is most of these transportation companies, FedEx, Amazon, UPS located in Memphis, Tennessee? Why do you think that is?
Because it's like the middle of the route from Florida to New York.
Yeah, I would say it's the center of movement, right? May not be like exactly geographical center, because you take into account the mountains of the United States in the west and the deserts, all the empty spaces, right? So you factor that in and say, this takes the shortest amount of time for everywhere in the continental United States, if we are flying. If we are flying, this is the shortest from point A to point B to Washington State, California, Maine, New York, Miami, wherever, right? That's why they're located there. It's a geographical thing. Not sure what happened. All right, we'll end off there. Any questions? I'm still thinking of a case, so we're still gonna have 2 cases. I'll just let you know when I have one, maybe for next week, and then I'll give you an entire week to work on it. We also got a quiz coming up. We'll talk more about that on Friday.